Hello, my name is Nicholas, and I will be presenting you with the highlights from this week's assignment. This week, we were tasked to complete the first section of the AI Python course on the website Deep Learning AI. This section covered the basis of Python, which I will be going over in great detail in this video. Now, without further delay, let's begin reviewing the code for this week. Okay, so here we are over on the Deep Learning AI website. So what I'll do today is that I will run through each section of the course and explain to you in great detail what I learned and the code and stuff like that that I learned for this week. Starting with this first section, it was fairly straightforward. It's just, your basic hello world stuff. Hello world is, the really baby steps for every single programming language. So yeah, we learned about hello world, print statements, and then we learned about comments. Obviously, to make a comment, you just put a hashtag in front of anything you want to write, as you can see right here. And then, if we scroll a little bit down, you can see the practice code that I did. Pretty straightforward, just making a print statement, and then it also had me create an error for one of my problems here, and then ask the AI chatbot to fix the code for me. So the AI chatbot was very helpful in some of these problems, and I'll explain that later on when we get to the harder sections of this course. All right, so in this next section here, we primarily learned about strings and multi-line strings, and then also the type function. So the strings are fairly straightforward. Strings are primarily used to change and store text, and it's usually stored inside quotation marks, as you can see right here. Every single line of text here is inside not parentheses, quotation marks. So strings could be anything from letters, numbers, or special characters. You see here we have hello world, which is a string of letters. Same with here, large string of letters, and then you can see the shrug special character that is being printed out here, and then under this you can see a set of numbers, right? Now moving on to the multi-line strings, I found this to be actually interesting because I didn't know about this beforehand. Multi-line strings are strings that can span more than one line and are created by using three quotation marks. So as you can see in the example here, when I run this code, part of the string will move to the other line like this, right? Almost like an indentation, kind of. So this is extremely important, that when you're using multi-line strings, that you put the strings in a triple quotation mark, because if you don't, then you're going to get a syntax error like this, right? Right. So it's very important that you are very careful with the syntax. Make sure whenever you want to use a multi-line string, be sure to always do the triple quotation marks, or else you'll get a syntax error, as you can see. Then the next sort of function we learned about was the type function. The type function is in its name. It will tell you the type it'll tell you the data type of whatever is in the quotations here. So for example, right, if we have type Andrew, if we run that, it will give us a string because Andrew right in here is a string. All right, same with here, right? If we were to press this, it will also be a string, right? It's not a normal string, it's a multi-line string, right? Because of the three quotation marks up here, right? So this will also be a string. You do type 2.99, that will give us a string because it's inside quotations, right? And then if we were to do type 100, it will give us an int. So the difference between these two is because remember the number was inside the quotation mark, so therefore it is a string, right? This number right here is not inside a quotation mark, so therefore it's not a string, but an integer, which I will be covering in the next section. And then over here, right, you have type 2.99, which will give us a float data type. Once again, I will talk about more about that in the next section when we actually get into text and calculations and integers and whatnot. And then here they show us, calculate, how Python can be used as a calculator and stuff like that, right? It can solve long strings of numbers like this to give us, a big number like that. Right. So if we scroll down here, you can see the work I did for the week, or at least for this section. It asks us to, fix a couple errors, right? This being a string and then a multi-line string, right? Just add. I believe I had to add the triple quotation marks for this one, and then this one was just missing the quotation mark from the beginning here. And then for this one, it was just converting the 6 feet to meters, which was pretty easy. Because all I had to do was remember the conversion formula, which is the feet times 0.3048. So as you can see here, 6 feet times this, it gives me 1.82, which is the meters. So now let's move on to the next section. All right, so in this section here, we dive more into integers and float values, and really just how to combine strings and integers, or strings and numbers, I should say. So, pretty straightforward here, talking about how, we can separate the two here by using like quotation marks and parentheses. So if I run this code here, you'll see that it does a basic math, right? 75 minus 32 multiplied by yada yada yada, right? Gets us this answer. Now, if we want to like display like a, I don't know, degrees or miles at the end, right? We would need the help of a string, which we would have to use quotation marks to say, okay, this part is going to be a string, and then this part I want you to solve like a calculator. Um, so, this is what it would actually look like right here, right? Temperature 75 degrees, Fahrenheit degrees Celsius is 23.8888, so on, right? And this was mainly due because of, as you can see, the quotation marks, right? Separate everything. The parentheses and the brackets separate the integers in here from the string, right? So very helpful if you're trying to be a little bit more precise when it comes to your calculations, or if you're trying to include specific um, specific values or numbers inside of your strings. Another thing we learned about is F strings, and F strings are used to format your strings and numbers. So what that means is that I'll give you an example here, right? So let's say we have a string statement of Isabel is 28 divided by 7 dog years old. Now, what you would expect is, okay, maybe you're asking it to divide, right? However, if you print it out, it just gives you the 28 over 7 number, right? Which is not what we want. We want it to actually calculate it. So how do we calculate it? We calculate it by using the f, right? Print f, and then Isabel is 28 over 7 dog years old, right? Notice how we have the 28 over 7 in brackets here. And then if we run this, it'll give us the answer here. All right, so very, very helpful. Then we get into multi-line F strings, which is the same thing, but using the multi-line string data type. Once again, 3 quotation marks, right? Help it indent on other lines. It's fairly straightforward. So here are the coding exercises that I did for the extra practice. I use the F string, right? Same with this one. A lot of code corrections that they want us to do here, just so that we can truly understand what we're doing. Now let's move on to the variable section.